Alright YouTube, Kaz Elkin back once again, this time with week 5 in my Beginner to Pro series. In case you're not familiar, that is the series where I'm aiming to go from being an absolute beginner at coding with no prior experience whatsoever to hopefully being a pro and landing a job at some point in the not too distant future, i.e. hopefully at some point next year. Everything I'm doing in this series, I'm doing from home at my own desk, using online resources mostly that anyone can get for either for free or for a small subscription fee. If you do want to see what resources I'm using, check out my resource selection video. This is going to be the last video that I upload in 2020 because Christmas is coming up and I plan to just chill out between now and the start of the new year. But then as soon as 2021 hits, I'm going to hit that train running harder than I have done so far. My goal going into 2021 is going to be to get over 30 hours a week minimums worth of time entries down and to put out a video every week at the weekend. So it's going to be a tall order, but that's what I'm going for, and I'm going to try and do that until I get this series finished. My schedule so far has kind of been to spend, a week, and then in the week after the week that I record my time entries to put the video up then. And what that's kind of meant is that my weeks, so weeks 1 to 4 and 5 for this video as well, have kind of started midweek and then ended midweek, and then I put the video out later, or I've left it until the start of a new week before I put the video out. I'm going to try my best to cut that down in order to just keep things simple. So we're going to get a 5-day or 6-day block, and then I'm going to try and upload videos on Sunday. Having said that, let's get into the time entries for week 5. Kicking the week off with Saturday, as you can see, spent a few hours on Skillshare watching the Ultimate Tkinter Masterclass. So this Bookstore app that the Python Mega Course is having me build, the Python Mega Course, as I explained in my previous videos, is the main guide and roadmap that I'm using to learn how to code. It has you build 10 real-world applications, and application 4 is this Bookstore app. It's a pretty simple app, but what it does have going for it is that the Python Mega Course on Udemy has me build a graphical user interface. So what you're going to see when I show you is that this is going to be the first program that I've made that actually looks like a program. It's not on the command terminal. Admittedly, it looks like a program maybe stuck in the 80s, but you've got to start somewhere. So this is what I've spent most of my week doing, either learning how to use Tkinter, which is the Python framework. So it kind of has all the tools, the Python tools that you would need to make a simple graphical user interface, or on the Python Mega Course itself, which again is on Udemy, watching the videos on his creation of the Bookstore app. So, and that is pretty much how the whole week has gone. As you can see, Saturday, Monday, just on Skillshare. Tuesday, Python Mega Course, I basically started building the app and spent just a little under 5 hours doing that. Moving on to Thursday, had Wednesday off. More time spent, just under 4 hours spent, making this app and playing around with Tkinter and trying to get everything to work. And then this week, Monday, and I finished the app yesterday. So this app has kind of like a front end and a back end. So it has the graphical user interface part, which is the front end, but then I've also been messing around with different databases, so some online databases, and then some just using database files on my computer as well. So this hasn't just been all Tkinter. I've also been getting to grips with how to use databases and how to use databases efficiently. So that's been really interesting this week as well. So this is the code for the Bookstore app. Much bigger than the other projects that I've worked on so far. I think everything else that I've done is mainly between like 20 and 30 lines of code, whereas this has a couple hundred lines of code, and it's split between 2 different files. So I've got this file, which is my sort of front end graphical part using Tkinter, and I've got this back end where I'm using SQLite, and this is my back end sort of like database interaction side, because I've got a database file that I use for the information on the Bookstore app, and I'll show you what booting it up looks like as well. So we got 4. So we boot this up, we get this little interactive window. This has been put together using Tkinter. You got these entry windows here, for title, author, year, and then the ISBN. So these are just all the book information. If we press view all, you can see I've just sort of picked 6 random books, random classic books to just fill out the list so I can show you how it works. And all these buttons do things. So if we, say for example, if we go to Great Expectations and we want to update this entry, I don't know, let's say we want to change the ISBN, so we could just put a random number in there, and then if we press update and view all again, you can see that the ISBN has been changed. We can add an entry as well, so year 2020, and then let's just put 100, and if we press add entry and then view all again, you can see that this new entry's come up as well, so the information's gone into the database, and then whenever I press view all again, it kind of like retrieves the information back from the database, which is really useful, and it took me quite a while to get the hang of sort of the using and retrieving information that's in a database. It wasn't simple. It looks really simple on this little program, but it's actually deceptively complicated, I think, personally. We can delete entries as well, so if we go back to this, we can press delete and then view all, and then as you can see, the entry has vanished, and that's it. Fairly simple. It looks simple, but connecting everything, connecting all of the buttons to the entry, to the values that go into the entry window, and then connecting the values to from the entry window to the database and stuff like that, took me the lion's share of this week, but it was all really interesting. Definitely the most fun I've had so far since I've started this beginner to pro series, and I think that's just because, you know, I quite liked getting to mix sort of like the back end database interaction logic side of things with kind of like the creative graphical part for the front end. So if I got bored of doing the back end, or if I got bored of learning about SQLite 3, which is kind of like one of the database frameworks that I've been using, or Postgres, which is another database framework that I've been using. If I get bored of trying to learn or trying to deal with a problem with one of them, I can just jump over to the graphical side of things, or go back over to my Skillshare course that I showed you earlier, where I was learning how to use Tkinter. So bouncing back and forth was quite good, because it meant that as soon as I got bored of one, I got to jump over to another. So I quite like that. And that about it wraps it up for showable material for this week. It may not look like much, but this has taken me quite a while to put together. The Skillshare course that I've mentioned has actually been really good. I've been quite impressed with Skillshare and what it's had to offer on Tkinter so far. This is the course, so this is entirely focused around Tkinter and making graphical user interfaces using Python. As you can see, it's got 3.5 hours worth of lectures, and there are 41 different lessons. And this has been a really useful resource, actually. I've found that this has been more useful than my Python Mega course, than the resources within the Python Mega course on Udemy. So this has kind of been the approach that I've taken for Tkinter, but also for learning how to use databases. The Python Mega course sort of tees me up and says, okay, we're going to make this app, and we're going to, have to use SQLite or Postgres, which are sort of basically frameworks for using a database and storing information on a database, and then we're going to use Tkinter to make the graphical user interface. But then it will give me information, but then I find myself going to other resources online for more information about those frameworks. So with Tkinter, I found this and then just used this, and then learned a lot more from this than I learned from my Udemy course. But to be fair to the Udemy course, it was designed to get me, or it's designed to get users to the point where you're making the app. So I guess the good thing is when you're learning from home, like I am, obviously, you can sort of go a bit further with something, and you can turn around and go away and watch more material online and try and learn more things than what the course is giving you, which is what I've done here with Tkinter. And that's going to about wrap it up for week 5, guys, and I'll catch you for week 6 next time. Cheers.